Guys, the shocking reality is if there's any part of you that relates to being a nice guy. Now, when I say nice guy, I'm also talking to the recovering people pleasers, the ones who sometimes don't want to rock the boat. I get it. Sometimes it is so much easier to keep the peace than it is to stand in your truth.
Ignition sequence start. 3, 2, 1, 0. All engine running. Liftoff. We have a liftoff.
Today I'm here hoping to be able to interview Joey Wilder. He is the creator, inventor, founder, you name it.
We have Joey Wilder, first time coming on the show.
But at that moment, I had a choice to make. I either hit this while it's hot, while people are hyped up about it, or kind of let it simmer out. And I've been told by many great mentors that it's all about the timing of things. Gentlemen, happy Tuesday. Appreciate y'all being here. Man, I loved this morning seeing Neil's post being the first post inside the community chat this morning. Shout out Neil. I'm super stoked, man. You know, Neil and I were having this conversation about chunking, and I've mentioned this to Josh before. And so commonly we look at like our big picture goal in the sense of it's this big, enormous thing. And as exciting as those things are, I remember when I was young, my dad said to me, "How do you eat an elephant?" And at the time I was like, well, I love elephants. I don't want to eat an elephant. But you eat it one bite at a time. And you know, I had shared with Neil, when we chunk our goals down, let's say we're shooting for something for 7 days. We can make it more attainable by making our goal 3 days, such as our win in the week is going to be doing it 3 days, and then we start it again. So in reference for Neil, instead of shooting for 7 days, we're doing 3 days, that's a win. 3 days, that's a win. Reminds me of when I started going to the gym. Guys, I hated going to the gym when I first started working out. Now I have to push myself to rest. But when I first started going, guys, I had to hold on to the treadmill to literally run a mile. And I remember wearing my Live Strong bracelet. And man, that was probably the first instance that I remember of like subconsciously programming myself. Do you guys remember those Live Strong bracelets, the yellow ones that were like, they were a huge craze? Man, when I would run, I remember looking down at my wrist and seeing the word Live Strong and literally in my mind thinking, I will die on this treadmill or I'm going to hit a mile. One of those is going to happen first. But it's there. All of that to say there's so much power in our words and when we chunk down our goal. So I want you to take a moment. I want you to think of your big, hairy, audacious goal, your BHAG. That's the big goal, the big thing we're shooting for. I want you to envision that, right? What's the thing that you're shooting for right now? What is that goal? Now that you see that big picture goal, I want you to chunk it down, make it smaller, make it more digestible, and make it more minute. You know, I was having this conversation with my friend Matt Winkley yesterday, and he and I did a podcast yesterday, and it's actually episode 8, and he had a lot of really interesting things to say. And I say the word interesting because, one, I want you guys to go listen to the episode. And two, everything he shared is on the same vein of everything that we are preaching about here. The only difference is, one, there were experiences he had in his life that enabled him, his pain pushed him to transform. It was as simple as that. His pain is what pushed him to transform. But before he got to the point of transforming, he knew that in order to get to where he wanted to be, He had to have the vision and then chunk it down into actionable steps. So commonly, we look at this big goal. Like, guys, I remember when I first started my fitness journey and a trainer told me, oh, you have about 100 pounds to lose. And they told me how long it would take. Man, that felt so daunting. It felt so daunting. Instead, if he would have framed it as, hey, this is where your starting point is. This is how much you're going to lose per month. That would have felt more attainable. Although I would have been doing it the same amount of time, the power of our dialogue and the perspective we are viewing through is going to make or break your deciding factor on if you're going to take action or continue in this dogma of this cycle you've been in. Any guys ever found themselves in that type of cycle where, the example that I use a lot is we're supposed to be saving money, but we spend money. We're like, oh, it's only $13. It's only $11. But guys, fundamentally, if your goal is to save money and you're doing the thing you're not supposed to do, you're not taking action in the direction that you desire to. So when I chunk that down, what I see is your vision isn't lighting you up enough to fully take action, to go all in. I sit with that word for a second. All in. All in. It's a powerful word. It means every ounce of you is in it. There's no part of you that is believing you're going to fail. You're doing everything with the sole intention that you are going to succeed. Now, that is not to say that you're not human, that you don't accept and rationalize that, you're going to run into speed bumps and hurdles and things that will slow you down, but you won't stop. You guys see what I'm getting at? There's a difference between, I think I can do it. I think I'll get there. Yeah, I think. And I believe that I will do it. I know that I've said this with you on a call before, Neil, where I was like, you think or you believe, you know or you believe. I was challenging the dialogue that you had used. I believe it was on our first call that we had done a couple weeks ago. Or maybe you had corrected yourself. But I remember us having that dialogue. But when you can correct yourself from I think, I know, to I believe, to me, belief is where everything starts. Because how many times do we believe something is possible and we try it? Versus if we believe something is hard, it's going to be hard. If you believe it's going to suck getting in a cold plunge, it's going to suck. Plot twist, it always sucks, but you get stronger. Guys, life is always going to throw curveballs. Life is always going to have speed bumps. Life is also always going to deliver you exactly what you are deserving of. You guys ever heard that life is a mirror? Like relationships are mirrors? Like relationships are mirrors in the sense of the things that we are usually the most insecure of, our partners are going to bring out of us. Now in life, the things that we are most deterring of, the things that we're turning away from, you guys ever notice how like God and the universe has a funny way of putting us like right in the place of those things that we're like trying to like steer clear of? It's almost like we're meant to go down that path, to move through it. Is this all making sense? Awesome. Sometimes I say prolific things at the screen. Other times I just kind of ramble. But guys, I want to really hyper focus as we're coming into, these last few months of the year. Like this year flew by. Like it's insane how quickly this year flew by. Hey guys, stop. One sec, guys. I should just learn by now to just put her in the beginning, because they love to make a ruckus when I'm on with you guys. But guys, this year flew by. And as you're stepping into these final few months, I want you to really take assessment. What is it you actually want to create in this upcoming year? Because right now, these months, October, November, like guys, we should have started last month. This is when you start vision planning, getting things in place, like really getting some sort of clarity, a rough iteration in what is it you actually want to strive for in 2025? What is it you want to work towards? What is it you want more of? Because you can polarize this by asking yourself today at the end of your day when you're laying in bed, if I repeated today 1,000 times, would I be happy where I was at the end of that? If you repeated today 1,000 times, would you be happy where you were at the end of that? Because guys, realistically, your life gets to look exactly the way you want it to look. But it comes at the coattail of taking action in the direction that you actually desire to go. Guys, sometimes you outgrow positions, you outgrow professions, you outgrow jobs, you outgrow people, and sometimes they grow with you. As when I synthesize that, I look back years ago, man, there is no part of me that could go back and run a health food company. I'm just not that same person. And as you grow, guys, your life gets to grow with you. Whether that's in your friendships, in your relationships, in the way you talk, the way you look, the way you walk, the way you engage with individuals, or maybe it's the way you show up for yourself. Regardless, guys, the shocking reality is if there's any part of you that relates to being a nice guy. Now, when I say nice guy, I'm also talking to the recovering people pleasers, the ones who sometimes don't want to rock the boat. I get it. Sometimes it is so much easier to keep the peace than it is to stand in your truth. But realistically, here's the shocking reality. Nice guys finish last in life and in leadership. That age-old adage, nice guys finish last, is true. Now, that is not to say that you cannot be a nice, kind, and compassionate man. However, many men believe that being nice will bring them success in life. It'll bring them success in leadership. It's like this excessive niceness can lead to people pleasing. It also leads to weak boundaries and realistically a lack of personal power. And today I want to, if you relate to, or maybe you're a recovering Mr. Nice Guy, a recovering people pleaser, or maybe Mr. Fix It, or maybe you're Bob the frickin' metaphorical builder, fixing every little thing and even things that don't exist. But today I'm going to share with you 3 essential game changers that are just going to shift your entire approach from passive to assertive, from reactive to proactive, from soft to strong, to realistically help you become the leader and the man that you're desiring to be. Because, guys, I get it. Like, when we're nice, man, we love to see our partners smile. Most guys I work with are romantic type of guys. You guys have some great ideas. You guys are great with words. But even with that, what happens when your needs go unmet, yet you're still expected to be the nice guy? And then suddenly you have this thing called boundaries, and it causes some problems. It rocks the boat. And then in your mind, you tell yourself, man,
Maybe I should have just kept my mouth shut. Guys, that is the last thing that you should be doing. Guys, game changer number 1 is you need to unleash your inner Titan. And what that means is to break free from being Mr. Nice Guy, you need to tap into your inner power. This is your Titan. Now, you do this by having a growth mindset and by not continuously placing the blame and struggling to accept each and every little thing that led you here to the now that you're in. Because guys, when I say take responsibility, that does not mean you take the whole freaking cake. It means you take your slice and you leave the slice for those that get to own theirs for them. And maybe they will, maybe they won't. That is not your concern. But guys, when you start to release your inner Titan, you get to reframe your failures as feedback. You get to reframe failures as feedback. Guys, I don't mind failing. I've actually failed many, many times, and I do it consistently. I mean, Josh can tell you the number of times I've set something up and he's seen an error in it. It's almost like every freaking time. And this is after I've tested it. But guys, when you fail, you get to find the feedback in that, because every failure is an opportunity to learn. It's not just a personal shortcoming. Guys, it is so triggering when men share with me, when it has to do with communication, oh, I can't talk like that. I can never do that. Man, I'm from the South. Guys, I have witnessed men that are from the South. These men maintain farms. I've heard them using power statements and having healthy boundaries. And guys, anyone and everyone can learn these if you try. And a part of unleashing your inner Titan means also embracing discomfort. Guys, discomfort is the cost of admission to the meaningful lives that we're all seeking. That's just the truth. Now, I'm not saying to seek discomfort, but when there's a level of discomfort present for you, those are growing pains. Anytime you're uncomfortable, understand that you're growing. See that as an opportunity. And this final one, when it comes to unleashing your inner Titan, is be proactive, not reactive. Guys, this may mean taming your toxic tongue. This may mean pause. This may mean pause in the moment. Josh, I won't share context, but the other day, the one simple thing I said was, just pause for a second before responding. Just take pause. Because guys, sometimes we're valid in feeling that part of us that, wants to come out because, maybe we're hurt, maybe we're frustrated, maybe we feel jaded. But guys, a part of unleashing your inner Titan is being proactive and not reactive. This means maintaining control of your emotions and having patience. And guys, anytime I'm triggered these days, present day, because guys, I got a mouth on me and I'm not afraid to punch you if I need to. However, I'm not a violent person. But all of that to say, guys, if I didn't get that under control, how many times do you feel like that may have just completely tarnished something great? Guys, any opportunity that you feel like you failed, you get to be proactive and take control of the circumstances by finding the growth. So anytime you feel like, I failed, no, bro, you learned. Man, I'm so terrible. No, you're so resilient. Now, guys, your action step for this one is I just want you to each day focus on reframing. Any difficult situation you're in, even if you don't show up in that moment in a way you're proud of, reframe it for yourself after. Guys, I'm a chronic overthinker. Little interactions, literally my interaction with my neighbor the other day, I'm still thinking about it. I'm like, man, I didn't ask him how his day was when he asked me. I hope he doesn't think that like I'm being disingenuous. I'm literally thinking about that right now. Now, does it matter? No. But guys, when you start to reframe these, when I reframe that, no, I'm just in my head. I'm just in my head because he's a little socially awkward, and that's the truth. He always leaves me a little uneasy anytime we engage. But guys, the second action step here is going to be to set growth goals for yourself. Identify one area that you've been avoiding the discomfort and commit to facing it this week. Maybe it's pulling up that credit card that you don't know what the minimum is, but know you got to pay it down. Maybe it's pulling up that thing that you've been avoiding. Maybe it's sending that email, sending that message, removing that person. I don't know. And guys, game changer number 2 is lead with heart and might. Guys, you get to balance strength with compassion in your relationships, with your heart, and with leadership. Because true leadership is about mastering the balance between strength and compassion. And guys, Mr. Nice Guy often sacrifices his power to be liked, but the real influence comes from leading with both heart and might. And when you blend both of these qualities, you become not only a source of strength, but a source of stability and passion. Now, guys, the key takeaways from this is true leadership balances strength and vulnerability. Guys, you can lead with both power and empathy at the same time. You can be powerful and empathetic at the same time because that actually builds trust, that builds influence. And you do this by also setting clear boundaries. Guys, compassion must be coupled with boundaries to avoid burnout and to avoid resentment. And this last one here is you get to inspire through example. Now, guys, when you blend heart and might, you set a standard in an ecosystem or a flow of leadership for others to step into. Guys, how many times do you you ever hang out with certain friend groups and then you guys all start using the same words? Or here, we all use the same words here. Guys, the same thing happens in our friendships, in our workplaces, in our relationships. It's like osmosis. Now, guys, the action steps here, if you feel like this game changer number 2 is your area of opportunity, your action steps will be start asserting boundaries. And this really just comes from communicating your needs clearly in areas where you feel like you've compromised too much. Guys, boundaries are simply how you want to be treated and what is going to happen if you're not treated that way. You need to detach the consequence from the person and connect it to the action. This is not, I just bit my tongue. Don't know how, that's weird. Whatever. Guys, in these instances, it is not the place to teach someone a lesson. It is not the place to, gotcha, bitch. The consequence needs to match the action. Now, guys, this second step is you get to lead in a compassionate conversation. And this means engaging in a conversation where you express your truth while also showing empathy. And this last action step is you get to model strength and vulnerability. Maybe this means sharing challenges that you're overcoming with your close circle. Maybe it means sharing with us in the community, similarly to like we do day in and day out. Maybe it means reaching out to someone you haven't spoken to in some time and asking them, hey, what's something that challenged you recently? What was a highlight for you recently? And guys, game changer number 3 and the final game changer is master the mirror of self. Master the mirror of self. Guys, self-awareness is the ultimate master key. Self-awareness is the master key, guys. But here's the thing. Is it a blessing or a curse because each level of awareness, you feel like you're peeling away more layers of things that are wrong with you. But guys, there's nothing wrong with you. You are not broken. You are in process. And guys, the thing with mastering the mirror of yourself is the key to overcoming Mr. Nice Guy's persona is through introspection. You have to face yourself. You have to recognize, like, what are the stories you're telling yourself? What are those true thoughts that you're saying when you look in the mirror? Because when you start to get to the root of those things, you can maybe uncover, or you can begin to uncover, not maybe, forget that I said that. You can begin to uncover maybe some limiting beliefs or maybe some imposter syndrome you may have. You know, and it's quite possible some of this may have been conditioned or a learned adaptation due to the environment you were in. But guys, here's the thing. When you start to uncover those patterns or the things that may be withholding you, guys, this allows you to gain control and really step into that next level that you're looking for. But guys, the truth is, there's a part of you that you're going to have to let die to get there. It's like the shedding of skin. It's the shedding of layers. You know, because there's probably personality traits, patterns, certain things that you may do that you may not realize you're doing out of conditioning, or maybe out of survival, or maybe it's just what you do and you're not even sure yet. But guys, if where you're at right now, you're recognizing, like, you know, one of these areas you get to lean into, start there. Because no matter where you're at, as long as you have a clear vision on where you want to go and you are following a process that is going to get you in that direction, failure is going to happen. It's just natural. Guys, how many times do you drive a car that's perfectly fine and like something happens? Like it just happens. But you get to be prepared for life by mastering these game changers, because until you completely get rid of Mr. Nice Guy, he's not going to be your amigo. Because guys, when you step into this next level, let me think of the way I want to say this. Every next level you step into, you will be tested by your old patterns. It may come out and self-express in different ways, but you will find yourself at times like, wait, I've been here before. And it's an opportunity to show up differently, because if you find yourself asking, how many times do I need to learn the same lesson before I finally learn the lesson? Now. It stops now. So guys, here's how you rise beyond Mr. Nice Guy. It's by stepping into your growth day in and day out. It's by leading with your heart and your might. You begin to embrace self-awareness, and this allows you to break away from that nice guy trap. And realistically, it'll elevate your leadership, it'll transform your relationships, and it'll drive you to step into that version of you that you've probably always thought of in your mind, but never quite actualized. Guys, he's waiting for you. He's on the other side of that uncomfortable step that you get to make. Now, guys, three key takeaways from today. Growth comes from facing challenges head on. His success doesn't come from playing it safe. You can embrace discomfort and see those as growing pains that are getting you closer to where you want to be. And number two, leadership is built on strength and compassion. True leadership comes from balancing assertiveness with empathy. Strong boundaries and authentic connection lead to trust. Guys, I can't trust someone that doesn't have boundaries because I just feel like they're going to pop off on me sometime. because they just don't have boundaries. You guys relate to that? Or whenever someone is just, and maybe it's just a me thing, but when someone is overly nice and they just seem like they're too clean. I don't mean literally clean. It's like, you got some skeletons in the closet and I'm going to find them. Maybe it's me. And guys, this third one, self-awareness is the true catalyst for transformation. As continuous growth comes from asking the hard questions. So ask yourself these two polarizing questions. One, if I repeated today 1,000 times, would I be happy where I end up? And two, if I woke up feeling the way that I felt this morning, would I live a life of joy or misery? And either answer you put, explain why. Those are your two introspective questions to dive into, because that'll tell you a lot about the lens that you may be viewing through currently. Because guys, if you want to completely rid yourself of Mr. Nice Guy, the people pleaser, guys, the shocking reality is nice guys finish last in life, in leadership, in business, in relationships. And although many men believe that being nice will bring them success in all of these things, excessive niceness can lead to you getting walked all over and being a doormat.